All right, y'all. Any of you that maybe followed my channel for quite some time, clear back to September of 2022, you might recognize this. This is a gearbox that is from the car wash, my buddy's car wash downtown. It is broke again. We can see here where it's been welded on before, and I welded reinforcement all the way around this. And it has broke again. So this piece is probably a piece that broke off before. Now we can tell up here in the front where other pieces, the other pieces came off. That wasn't broke before. It's not been welded on. That one or this one. That's just the same as it was originally, just this time this failed. It's obviously not strong enough to do what it's doing, and they have trouble with people bringing the modified vehicles in there, the Jeeps with the big tires and the trucks with the big tires, and the car wash brush is spinning along, and when there's a huge tire and a huge bumper and there's a big gap between the two, and the sensors think that they're supposed to send the brush inside of there. Well, once that brush goes in between a steel bumper and a great big 35 or 38 inch tire, it jams, it shuts the car wash down, and it jams that spinning brush up to a screeching halt so fast that something's going to give. They've got signage all over down there saying no modified vehicles, no lift kits, no this, no that. But, you know, it happens anyways. People think, well, I'm just going to try it. And this thing's broke again. Now, the last time I welded on these gearboxes, the car wash was broke down and we were in a hurry. In this scenario, they've bought a new gearbox and the car wash is back online. It's running. So we've got a little time here. And if you remember from before, when I did this originally, I wanted to take that gearbox apart where I could weld that housing with it being separated from the gearbox itself. I was afraid when I started taking it apart. I was concerned about it didn't come apart that easy, and I didn't really know enough about it. Couldn't find information on how it even comes apart. One of the biggest reasons there's two reasons. You know, I don't want to burn up any of the oil seals or anything, if I could help it. And if you take it apart, you might eliminate some of that. The other thing that you run into on this is you just run out of reach. This flange on the worm gear part of it, you know, to do any welding right here, this is really in the way. That flange, I cut a bucket and put on this and bolted and wired it on there because there's parts in there we don't want to lose. But this flange here, you know, this housing right here being a separate part, if I could separate this part from the rest of that, it'd be a whole lot better to weld on it that way. Since we got a little time, I'm going to try again to get my head wrapped around whether or not I can take this thing apart and fix it, because I could weld on it a whole lot better that way. So after a little bit more do's and nations here, and got out some tools and took some stuff apart and disassemblified, this is what we got. I was able to get this section with the worm gear and that flange that was in the way. I was able to get it disconnected from here, and I cleaned this up really well. I don't think I'm going to take it apart any more than that, because now that I've got 360 access to these areas that are broke, I can weld this up a whole lot better than I could when this flange right here was right in the way. So I called one of my buddies that he's one of the owners at the car wash. I had a phone conversation with him this morning, and we talked about this. And one of the questions that I asked him was if I had a forged aluminum plate bolted to the bottom of this that was like 1/8 of an inch, and that moved this housing up in the machine 1/8 of an inch, would that make any difference? And he doesn't think that it would. And we're probably going to do something like that because I'd like to lay out a pattern in a piece of aluminum. I've got a piece of 1/8 inch aluminum just so right here. I'd like to lay out this pattern, which is pretty much a 6 1/4 inch square. I could cut it 6 1/2 inch square with the hole pattern that's a square 4-hole pattern, 5 inches on center. And then with a 5-inch hole in the center of it. See what that would do? That would give me a piece of 1/8 inch plate that I could put right on this cast aluminum housing that would have my hole pattern and everything. And that would give me a base to start with on this that I think would help me in the welding. I'm going to explore that as an option. So let's do that. So I made this plate, a 6 1/4 by 6 1/4 plate with a 5-inch hole in the center, 4 3/8 inch holes in a 5-inch square pattern. I've been down to the car wash, met up with my buddy down there. He was down there working on the car wash and let me know he was down there, and he took one of the covers off of one of the machines down there that's got one of these housings on it that's broke that I welded before in September of 2022, and we got to look at that, got to look at it, and the big thing was that would I be able to use this 1/8 inch plate to assemble this thing and weld it, and could I weld the 1/8 inch plate on there and leave it for added strength? And we found out I can. It's going to move the car wash brush up 1/8 of an inch. Other than that, it'll make no difference. So we'll take a look at what we got here. I made this plate, put the holes in it where I can put this thing together. And now, you know, I can take these pieces. I've done some prep work on the housing itself. But now I can take these pieces and bevel the bejesus out of them, get them ready to weld, and I know if I put them back down on here and bolt them onto this plate, they're going to work. The plate I'm going to be welding to this housing, and that's going to help strengthen the housing also. You know, this forged aluminum plate is way better than this cast. That's going to add a lot of strength. So I'm going to tack this housing up onto this plate first thing right now, and everywhere really in between here and around where I don't have a broken off piece, I could actually weld it right now, and that might help hold this together, hold it where I want it. So that's up next. Right, here's the update on where we're at with this deal. I have obviously welded the plate to the housing where I can at this point. And this one here I've got on here to show you how I can use this plate with the holes to bolt this piece on. But you can see that's not ideal for welding. That's not beveled out enough for me to really get in there and weld. So now that I've got the plate positioned and I can take a piece off, you know, I can do all my beveling on this piece now and then put it back in there and bolt it down and get it tacked, welded and everything, and know that it's going to be in the right position. Now the plate's going to serve us really good. There's another thing that I'm doing. If you look in here, this housing's full of water because I've got an oil seal around the shaft down here that I don't want to burn up. And I also don't want to take this pressed bearing and this pressed on gear and the other bearing off the shaft to remove the seal. So I'm pretty convinced that where I'm going to be welding with the housing full of water and all that water laying on that oil seal, this part of the housing here that I got my finger on where the oil seal is, I think that's going to stay cool enough that it's not going to hurt that oil seal. And the water is a good thing to have in there also because it's a temperature indicator. Water boils at 212 degrees. If I hear that water boiling or see that water boiling, start seeing a bubble in the water or whatever, then I know I'm at boiling temperature and maybe I need to do something. Now, I could add more water, maybe blow it with an air gun. Maybe it won't get that hot. It depends on how fast I'm welding on it. But anyway, I'm taking measures for that. And so I'm gonna bevel these parts and then we'll take another look. This is what we got ready to weld. Got it really opened up where I can get down in there on it. One of the things I don't like to do is I don't like to run the solid wire MIG on aluminum cast. The MIG's great on your aluminum fabrication and your forged aluminum or whatever, regular aluminum. I don't like to run it on the cast. I like to TIG the cast. And the cast is porous, and when you TIG into a place where there's a porous spot, you know, you can slow down and coax it around and solidify the porous areas. You can't do that with the MIG. But I often have trouble with the TIG when I'm reaching way down into something. And this area right here, there's a few places where I could reach down 3/4 of an inch or so. And I think a MIG is probably a better choice for that. I'm going to try to put in one pass in this cast to get started with a spool gun aluminum MIG on my Miller-Matic. And once I get that in there, I'll probably switch to TIG. So let's try that. There might be some hillbilly TIG action too, because this gap's so big, I might want to feed some TIG rod in there while I'm MIG welding. And around here we call that hillbilly TIG. I've heard other people call it, my buddy Texas Tim from Texas, he calls it Mexican heliarc. And there's a guy from Florida on YouTube that calls it Texas TIG. But, you know, you do it with wire or stick, where you've got a stinger with a welding rod in it in one hand and you're feeding another rod in it with the other hand, or you've got a MIG gun or something in one hand and you're feeding a rod in it with the other hand. I don't know. Around here we call it hillbilly tigging, but that's going to happen here, I'm sure. Done a bunch of welding on this housing, and I want to do some more. What I've learned so far, that one oil seal that I had to leave in there because I'm not pulling the bearings and gears off, that's the reason I keep having to cool this thing. I don't want to burn up that seal. The cooling is a pain in the butt. Stopping welding constantly to cool it off it's slowing me down bad. So I come up with something this morning. I quit on this thing yesterday evening. I come up with something this morning that I'm going to try that looks promising, and so let's check that out. I found this tote that would allow me to weld on any of this part, you know, pretty much from here to there, and still fill this full of water to an area higher than the seal. So that's my plan, and I think that's, you know, this is going to have a lot more volume of water than the way I was just filling the cavity full of water. So I don't think I'm going to have to keep stopping and dipping it, and that's probably that should be a benefit time-wise. This is taking too long, but I'm learning what to do and figuring it out. I know this is going to be an ongoing thing with this car wash, because obviously the original gearbox was broken 9 months. The ones I added extra weld to at that 9-month part have lasted about 16 months. So these with the plate on them, if I get them welded like I want to, I think are going to be a solution, and a solution is what we need. So get back to welding. Quick note on what I learned right there. I was running that at about 160 amps. At a 1.5 lanthanated tungsten. The tungsten was 3/32 diameter. With this thing completely submerged in that water, that wasn't near enough heat to do hardly anything. And by the time I got enough heat to make something happen, I'm at 212 amps. At 212 amps, my 3/32 tungsten wasn't big enough. The TIG torch is getting hot. I don't have a liquid cooled TIG torch, but I can go up to a 1/8 inch 2% thoriated tungsten. I have those in 1/8 with a large size cup, number 8, and a gas lens, and we're going to go in with that and see what happens. Hopefully the larger tungsten will handle the heat a little better. We'll see what happens. Dang it! I got switched over to the 1/8 inch tungsten and large size gas lens. Started welding and realized I'm not getting any gas, and I'm hearing a leak from my lead. So look here. Blowed out. Since the gas and the welding current both go through this line, my suspicion is that it got so hot that it burned it up. And the machine that I'm using is the TIG machine that I had for quite a while. This is the Prime Weld 225. And there's a reason I'm using the Prime Weld right now. The reason I'm using the Prime Weld on this particular thing, trying to get done a little faster, is because of this aftermarket device that I have for my Prime Weld. This TIG button, Amp Control by TIGcontrol.com. This button right here is absolutely amazing in the fact that this works like a foot pedal at the press of your finger. So the harder you press your finger, the more amps you get. And I can't imagine how that button knows that I'm letting off a little bit with my finger to give me less amps, but it works. The thing works. If it were not for that gizmo that I put on my Prime Weld a long time ago, I would probably be welding with the Arc Captain TIG 200P, which is the newer machine I've got and been testing on. And I'm kind of somewhat aligned with Arc Captain on this. I've done some reviews for Arc Captain, and we got a relationship. I don't have any relationship at all with Prime Weld. I bought that Prime Weld years ago. I don't really have any complaints with the company Prime Weld. I know one time I had called them because I messed up one of my fans, and it was totally my fault. And I called and told them, and they sent me a new fan. Didn't want any money or anything. And I told them the damage was my fault, but they were cool. So we're going to see what they say on this hose for this TIG torch. I got to get a hold of them. But as of right now, on getting this job done, it's Arc Captain to the rescue, because this is the only other AC TIG option I've got. So let's go in with that. I'm going to put the 1/8 inch tungsten and everything on this torch, and we're switching from the Prime Weld to the Arc Captain. And of course now I'm not going to have the option of using that TIG button. I'm going to have to run it with a foot pedal, and so that's going to be fine. So let's get to work. Update on the TIG torch situation. I just got off the phone with Prime Weld. Talked to a great fellow there that had some information for me. I told him what happened. Got a rupture here. He said, well, are you running over 150 amps? I said, yes, I am, sir. He said, that's a 150 amp torch. If you run more than 150 amps, you're going to burn it up. I said, that's what I did. So that's my fault. But the big update is Prime Weld sold me a 225 amp TIG welder with a 150 amp torch on it. And I should have known that it was a 150 amp torch. But one more time, I'm going to say that Prime Weld sold me a 225 amp TIG welder with a 150 amp torch on it. Okay, so the Prime Weld's out of commission anyways. We got to get this job done. Let's forget about that. But I need 200 amps to do what I'm doing to try to avoid burning up this seal. What's going on is, having the rest of this aluminum part submerged in water, that means that it's keeping all this other aluminum so cool that it's going to take more amps to get the area hot right where I want to weld, and I need 200 amps. So, obviously, the next thing I do, I asked the guy on the phone at Prime Weld, I said, well, what torch do I need? He said, well, you've got a 17, which is only good for 150 amps. If you want to run 200 amps, you need a 26. Go on the website and order a 26. Okay. Well, we got to use the Arc Captain TIG 200, and the first thing I'm wondering is what kind of torch does it got? Let's take a look. I come over here to the Arc Captain, and see, they give me a TIG 200. This is a 200 amp. This is a 200 amp TIG machine. So what kind of torch did they send me? Well, I'll be damned. It come with a 26. So, kudos to Arc Captain. They give me a 200 amp TIG machine with a 200 amp torch on it. This is the way I wanted to do all of it. Worrying about burning that seal up and all the trouble I've had trying to keep that cool without burning torches up, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna call it good right there. I think with this plate added to the bottom, I think it's pretty strong. I got to do the mechanical work of reassembling this gearbox, and this place is too filthy for that. We want to clean that. We want to clean that very good with some diesel fuel, and then clean up this area so there's not all these aluminum shavings and stuff everywhere. So that's next. Well, I got that thing put back together, and there ain't no parts left laying around here for it, so I guess they're all there in the gearbox. I got it all wrapped up. It needs oil in it. We get down there to the car wash. My buddy's researching about what kind of oil he's going to put in it. So we took some information off of the gearbox, what oil it said it had in it, and he's going to get either that or a facsimile thereof. But got it wrapped up, put together, you know, learned a lot as far as the TIG welding on that thing. I would have never dreamed we'd be fooling around at 200 amps, but we know now, if you've got a prime weld and you got that CK17 torch, which it's a fantastic torch, but I didn't realize it would burn up that easy. The ARC captain came to the rescue and got the job done, but we did damage a part running that thing on 200 amps. The ARC captain machine did fantastic, And you know, I'm not a TIG welder. I've never done a whole lot of TIG. I still don't have a lot of call for TIG. I could tell that my ability to control the TIG torch was improving drastically on this job, because this right here was more TIG welding on aluminum than this combined was more TIG welding on aluminum than I've done for a long time. I just don't get to do it that much. I can see how I could improve a lot with more practice, but I'll do this and it might be a year before I even do that much of it again. So, I mean, that's just the way it is. But one thing we know, that if you're going to be running, the thing we learned from this is, if you're going to be running 150 amps or more for any length of time, you probably should spend the money on a water-cooled torch. The TIG torch, it just really gets hot, and it's not a simple apparatus like a stinger that you can just hack off and put another one on. You got shield gas going through that thing. You've got either a diffuser or a gas lens and a collet body, and a gas cup. If you get the gas cup too hot, they crack. I broke 2 gas cups doing this. If you figure the gas cups, I melted down one diffuser or gas lens and ruined a TIG torch. I've ruined a couple $100 worth of stuff. $200-300 it's going to cost just to fix what I've got tore up from this. But that's that, and I think this is gonna take care of them on this one for a while. I think we're gonna have issues with the other ones, and I'm sure we'll deal with those issues as they come. So thanks for watching. Hey y'all, CB here, the No BS Welder, coming at you with this t-shirt on because I wanted to show you the new t-shirt, NBS Welding here on the chest. Got the American flag on the sleeve, NBS Welding on the back. Get a hold of Tina. Send us an email at nbswelding@aol.com. Get a hold of Tina. If you want one of these shirts, $25 plus shipping and handling, she'll get you a shirt. So I'm plugging the shirts, and while I'm plugging the shirts and doing commercials, I just as well throw in my Thrive. Now, my Thrive system, if you didn't see my Thrive video, I can put a link in there and you can check that out later. The Thrive system is the supplement system that I've been taking. I'm on my 7th year. 7 years I've been taking Thrive. It's a supplement system. I start out first thing in the morning with these capsules right here. These capsules right here, this will get your turbo spinning. First thing, you get out of bed, as soon as my feet hit the floor, I take these 2 capsules right here and I drink me a glass of water. First thing. Then, within half hour to an hour later, I make a shake. This is a micronized powder. I'll put it in about 10-12 ounces or more of ice water. Shake it up real good, drink that down. Whenever I take the shake, I put on a patch. Now, there's different patches. When you go to the site, you can see whichever one you want. This is an Elite patch. This is the Elite Formula Shake. There's also the Standard Formula. If you want to know the difference, I think the Elite is geared a little more towards weight loss, and I think the energy from the capsules is a little more spread out. On the Elite, it's more of a slow release. So the Elite is the new one, and then there's a Standard Formula. I'm taking the Elite right now, but I've taken the Standard Formula for years. I took the Standard Formula for over 6 years. But if you want a supplement, if you're the kind of person like me that wants a supplement system, I said before, there's some people that don't take supplements. They don't watch their diet. It doesn't matter if they exercise or not. and they feel good, sleep good, they look fit, and they don't have to, they're just like that. And there's one thing I know for sure about those people is that I'm not one of them. Unfortunately, I got to take my supplements. I got to pay attention to what I eat. And I got to stay active or I'll gain weight. I'll gain weight and I don't feel good, and that's no good. And nobody wants to get fat and lazy, you know. And as I'm getting older, you know, I've got to do a little more all the time to keep myself, man, I want to be right there. You know, I want to be on it. Every day I want to get up and get going and do it. And I got to stay at it, man. So the link will be, there'll be a link in the description of the video, and you can find out where to sign up for the Thrive. If you sign up for the auto ship, you get a discount. And don't freak out because it's auto ship. You can cancel it whenever you want. But signing up for the auto ship will save you some money. But this Thrive supplement system, that's going to be your vitamins, minerals, your probiotics, your prebiotics, CoQ10, glucosamine, caffeine. But it's not caffeine like caffeine that's in coffee. It's not like caffeine. This caffeine, they extract it, you know, from different ways and different sources. It's not just like the coffee caffeine. There's no crash with this. And if you follow this system, you get up, you take your capsules, you drink your shake, you put on your patch. Avoid all other caffeine. You don't want to be drinking coffee or Red Bull. You don't want none of that. You don't mix this stuff. You take your Thrive, and you'll get the energy, and you'll stay active, and you'll have reduced inflammation. You're getting all your vitamins and minerals, and you're going to fill in those gaps, those nutritional gaps that need filled in. You'll feel better, you'll look better, and be better. So if you want a t-shirt, $25 plus shipping and handling. Send us a request send us an email, nbswelding@aol.com. We're taking some pictures of the shirts where we can throw up pictures every once in a while with that email address in between the videos. And buy a shirt. Sign up for some Thrive. Get it on auto ship. Get to taking that. And let's roll.